On the night of my 35th birthday, my wife Amanda and her family sprang their trap. With a coolness that cut deeper than the blade in my hand, she declared, "I want a divorce and half the house." If you're following this twisted saga of betrayal and hidden moves, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss how this unfolds. I smiled faintly, my knuckles white on the knife meant for the chocolate cake she had baked. "Funny," I said softly. "I sold the house yesterday to my own company. Happy birthday, darling. I want to separate too." Her words had rolled off her tongue as casually as asking for sugar and coffee, but the setting made it surreal. Golden balloons floated above, a happy birthday banner stretched across the wall, and my mother-in-law Patricia sat smirking from the couch. Jeremy, my brother-in-law, didn't even look up from his phone. The only person left in the dark was supposed to be me. "Excuse me." My voice cracked as I set the knife down carefully. Amanda tucked her blonde hair behind her ear, that once charming gesture now looking calculated. "I've spoken to my lawyer. The house is in your name, so obviously I'm entitled to half, especially since my family helped with the down payment." IMS, 35 years old. This was the night my wife of 7 years decided to destroy our marriage, and thought she'd take my future with her. But what Amanda didn't know, what none of them knew, was the conversation I'd had with my lawyer a week earlier. A single call that flipped everything I believed about our marriage and our assets. For 7 years I'd played the perfect husband, 60-hour weeks as a software engineer, funding Amanda's endless dreams, the design course she quit, the online craft store that collapsed in 6 months, the photography studio that existed only on paper. Every time Patricia called about Jeremy's emergencies, I paid. When Amanda's grandmother needed surgery, I paid. Even last year's family trip to Hawaii, my card. "Son," Amanda said, feigning concern. "Are you okay? I know this is a lot." Her face already looked lighter, as though the burden of pretending was gone. Patricia whispered to Jeremy about finally and the right time. 7 years of marriage, and they were celebrating my downfall. "I'm fine," I said evenly, just surprised at the timing. Jeremy looked up at last. "Dude, you haven't been happy for a long time. Better to cut it clean." The coldness hit harder than any punch. No sadness, no shame, just a transaction. Amanda laid papers on the table next to the untouched cake. "Here's the list of assets to divide. My lawyer says it'll be simple if we cooperate." I skimmed it. House, cars, bank accounts, even my office equipment. Every item I'd paid for treated as if she'd built it with me. "How long have you been planning this?" I asked. "A few months," she said. No shame. I had to be sure. "A few months while I was working overtime. While I was planning an anniversary trip. While I still believed we were building something." Patricia moved closer. "Amanda, darling, shall I call Mark for legal advice?" The cousin lawyer who'd always treated our marriage as temporary. "Good idea, Mom," Amanda said. "The sooner the better." I rose slowly, papers in hand. "I need to think." "Of course," Amanda replied, but her tone said my opinion was irrelevant. "There isn't much to think about. We split everything and move on." They discussed logistics like I wasn't in the room. My phone buzzed. A bank transfer waiting for confirmation. One that would rewrite this entire separation. "You have to understand, Zone, this isn't about money," Amanda said, her movements rehearsed. "It's about freeing ourselves." Freedom. Patricia shuffled a folder of documents clearly prepared long ago. "How long exactly?" I asked. Jeremy finally pocketed his phone. "We haven't planned anything," Amanda said too fast, her blush betraying her. "Prepared. As if my life were their business deal." Jeremy leaned forward, playing financial advisor. "At least you invested in a big house. With appreciation, the split will be sweet." The hypocrisy burned. For years he'd begged for help. A $3,000 car repair, a $2,500 credit card, a $4,000 investment gone bad. Every time Amanda pressured me to bail him out. "It's family," she'd said. Now he was calculating my losses like a payday. "Remember when Jeremy stayed in our basement to get back on his feet?" I asked. "That was 3 years ago," Amanda muttered. 9 months. No rent. Girlfriends every week. Our bills doubled. Patricia's syrupy voice floated in. "Jeremy was going through a tough time after his divorce." "And when you needed that kitchen loan?" I said, watching their faces stiffen. "Son, let's not rehash the past," Amanda snapped. "We must resolve this civilly." Civilly, as though I were unreasonable. I opened my spreadsheet, the one I'd kept for a year. $53,000, I said, showing them. "That's what I've sunk into your family in 5 years." Patricia went pale. Jeremy swallowed. Amanda recovered first. "Those were gifts. Family help you offered voluntarily." "Gifts," I repeated. "Jeremy, remember promising to repay the $4,000 investment?" "That deal didn't work out," he mumbled. "Patricia, remember signing the $8,000 kitchen repayment plan?" She glanced at Amanda, helpless. "Complicated for you," I said. "Convenient would be more honest." Amanda stood, mask cracking. "You're ridiculous. Nobody forced you." Technically true. I always offered. But seeing them now, papers ready, I finally saw the pattern. Emergencies timed to my bonuses. Emotional scripts rehearsed. "You know I found out about the family meetings, right?" I asked. "What meetings?" Amanda's voice faltered. "The Sunday sessions at Patricia's. 2 years planning my finances." Jeremy tried to laugh. "You're paranoid." Jennifer told me. Their faces drained. Jennifer, the cousin who never asked me for money, had come to me last week. She called my marriage the sound project, said they tracked my bonuses, timed their requests. Patricia stared at her hands. Jeremy fumbled with his phone, hands shaking. Amanda rallied. Jennifer's a jealous liar. If you believe her. Ex-wife, I said. Isn't that what you want? Yes, she said after a beat. Great. My comm surprised me. Let's make it official. I opened my bank app. The transfer was complete. $22,000 moved from our joint account to my private one. Since we're talking splits, I said, showing the screen. I just took my half. Amanda snatched the phone. Her eyes widened. You can't. That's our money. It was ours, I said. Now it's yours and mine. Perfect split. But I need that money to get settled, she cried, mask on. How will I pay deposits and furniture? The same way I will. By working. Patricia gasped. Sound, that's cruel. Amanda needs time. 7 years wasn't enough? Jeremy tried to mediate. Let's calm down, find a solution. The solution's clear, I said, standing. Amanda wants to separate. I agree. Each lives on their own resources. And the house? Amanda asked, desperation creeping in. I smiled for the first time. Ah, the house. Big surprise. It's not in my name. What are you talking about? The house is yours. No, it's my company's. You've never been a partner. Never contributed a cent. Shock rippled across their faces. That's impossible, Patricia whispered. You bought it together. I bought it, I corrected. With company money, for my company. Amanda just lived here. Without the house, the split shrank to a car, some furniture, her half of the account. Nothing more. You tricked us, Amanda shouted, tears of rage in her eyes. I protected myself, I said calmly. There's a difference. They panicked, muttering about lawyers. I picked up the divorce papers. I'll sign tonight, I said. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow. Amanda stared, horrified. How did you know? You underestimated me, I said, opening the door. That was your first mistake. Patricia's last plea. Son, this will destroy our family. No, I said. It ends something already destroyed. The difference is now I know it. I closed the door behind them, leaning against it as their voices faded. Revenge would be sweet. But first, a few more calls, starting with Jennifer, who had offered to testify, and ending with the private investigator I'd hired 3 months ago. If they thought the house was my only surprise, they were very wrong. The next morning, I woke to 15 messages and a strange sense that something had shifted forever. Amanda had slept in the guest room, but by morning she was gone. The first message was from Jeremy, at 3 a.m. Dude, reconsider. Amanda's devastated. We're all worried. The second from Patricia, at 5:30. Sound, honey, this isn't the way. We need to talk like adults. The other 13 were variations of the same theme, emotional appeals, blame, and signs they'd spent the night plotting a counterattack. I was stirring my coffee when Jennifer called. They've gone crazy, she said. They were up all night at Aunt Patricia's planning how to force you to back down. Amanda's telling everyone you've had a psychotic break. I stopped stirring, the spoon clinking against the cup. A psychotic break? Jennifer's voice cut through the static of my thoughts. She put up a Facebook post saying she's worried about your mental state, that you've always been unstable with money and now you're making reckless decisions. It's already gotten 50 supportive comments. I opened the app on my phone while she spoke. There it was, posted at 6 in the morning. Hard time show who's truly on your side. When someone you love makes choices that could ruin their life, all you can do is pray and stay ready to help. Thank you to everyone who stood by me through this. The comments section was a showcase of carefully directed outrage. Amanda, you're so strong. Stay strong. Some men can't handle their wife's success. Mental health problems are serious. He needs help. Sound has always seemed controlling. Now he's showing his true colors. Every comment was a deliberate cut at my reputation. People who barely knew me were judging based on a crafted story disguised as concern. Jennifer, can you do something for me? I asked, surprised at how calm my voice sounded. Of course. I need you to log these family meetings. Dates, who was there, what was said, especially anything about my finances. The icy precision behind all this hit me like a blow. For years I believed the requests for help were real emergencies from people I loved. Now it was clear I had been nothing but a financial resource, methodically drained. There's more, Jennifer said quietly. Amanda's told people more than once that when, not if, the marriage ended, she'd take half of everything. She never used if. It was always when, like separation was inevitable, just a matter of timing. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Sound? David Martinez from Thompson & Associates. I represent your wife regarding marital issues. Less than a day after announcing our split, Amanda had already secured legal representation. The speed was impressive for something supposedly done in the heat of emotion. Mr. Martinez, I said, switching to speakerphone. What a surprise so early. My client is worried about some impulsive financial moves you made yesterday. We'd like to discuss a temporary agreement to protect marital assets during the process. Protect the marital assets. Elegant code for blocking me from touching my own money. Which marital assets exactly, Mr. Martinez? He hesitated. The marital residence, the joint bank accounts, vehicles acquired during the marriage. The residence is owned by my company as commercial property. It's not a marital asset. The joint accounts were split evenly yesterday. What else are you referring to? Silence stretched. Mr. Sound, perhaps we should meet in person to discuss this. Perhaps you should review the property records before your next call. I hung up and dialed my attorney, Robert Shun. Rob, prepare a formal response to Amanda's lawyer and accelerate the divorce process. The sooner the better. Sound, I had an interesting call this morning, Rob replied. Someone from Thompson and Associates asked about your house's ownership. When I told them it's held by your LLC, registered 3 years before the marriage, they sounded genuinely shocked. I already retained Michael Torres. He's been working for 3 months. 3 months. Rob's voice betrayed surprise. You've been planning this longer than I thought. I wasn't planning. I was protecting myself. That difference now mattered more than anything. At 2 in the afternoon, Michael Torres called with his first update since last night's dinner. Sound, you need to see this. Amanda and her mother went straight from your lawyer to a meeting with a real estate appraiser. They're trying to value your house for asset division. Even though they know it's in your company's name, they're arguing that living there during the marriage gives them marital rights. Risky, but not impossible. And Jeremy, he spent the morning calling your contacts, telling a story about you having a breakdown and making erratic choices. He called your boss. My comm cracked. He called Brian? 15 minutes. Introduced himself as a worried brother-in-law. Talked about emotional instability, financial recklessness, need for intervention. Jeremy had crossed into forbidden territory. My professional life had always been separate, immune from family drama. Now they were actively trying to sabotage my career. Michael, I want proof of all of this, recordings if possible. I've got them already. Jeremy's careless on the phone. Last night, he told a friend their whole plan. Want the transcripts? Send everything. I spent the afternoon reading the transcripts. The coordination was stunning. They divided roles. Amanda would push the narrative of mental and emotional instability. Patricia would rally family and social support. Jeremy would destroy my professional reputation. Their goal was simple. Isolate me and pressure me into either abandoning the divorce or agreeing to a better settlement for Amanda. It was a sophisticated, almost military operation. Almost admirable in its cold precision. Almost. At 6 that evening my phone rang. Brian, my boss. Sound, I got a strange call. Your brother-in-law says he's worried about you. Is there something I should know? Brian, I'm getting divorced. My wife's family is trying to paint me as unstable to gain an advantage. Sound, you've been one of our best engineers for 7 years. A malicious in-law won't change that. When I hung up, it hit me. Amanda and her family had made a fatal miscalculation. They assumed I was still the man they'd been draining for years, the man who reacted emotionally instead of strategically. They didn't know I'd been preparing for this war for 3 months. While they were busy making calls, I was hiring professionals. While they spread rumors, I gathered evidence. While they mistook my kindness for weakness, I built a devastating legal case. That night, I opened my laptop and began organizing Michael's material. Recordings of Jeremy describing manipulation tactics. Photos of family meetings with my financial documents laid out. Texts between Amanda and Patricia coordinating their stories. Every piece of evidence tore down their narrative and exposed years of predatory planning. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Amanda. Sound, we can still resolve this peacefully. It doesn't have to be a war. I stared at the evidence, the transcripts of Jeremy trying to ruin my career, the Facebook post portraying me as unstable. It doesn't have to be a war, she said. But the war had begun the moment they decided I was a resource to exploit instead of a person to respect. They fought with emotions and manipulation. I fought with facts, evidence, and the law. And unlike them, I was ready to win. The next morning I woke at 5:30 with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. While Amanda slept at her mother's house plotting her next move, I was already 3 steps ahead. I called Jennifer first. You have to hear what happened last night, she said before I even spoke. They spent 4 hours at Aunt Patricia's house planning how to make you drop the divorce. Tell me everything. Amanda's saying you've had a psychotic break and the family must intervene. Jeremy suggested getting a court order to have you temporarily committed, claiming you're a danger to yourself. The audacity left me silent for a moment. Do they actually think that will work? Patricia called her cousin Mark, the lawyer. He told them it'd be impossible without medical proof. But Jeremy said they could stage an incident, provoke you into an outburst in public, and use that as evidence. Stage an incident. The family I'd supported for 7 years was now scheming to have me locked in a psychiatric facility. Jennifer, I need you to document this officially. Would you sign a sworn statement? I'm already drafting it. I've got recordings of the last 2 meetings on my phone. They never suspect me. They treat me like furniture. The second call was to Michael Torres. Sound, I have terrible news, he said immediately. Jeremy isn't just calling your boss. He's running a full-scale campaign to destroy your professional reputation. Explain. He's telling people you're mentally unstable and that your company could be at risk. 2 firms have already called your boss asking for clarification. My controlled comm flickered for a moment. Attacking my career crossed a line I hadn't even known existed. But instead of anger, something colder formed, absolute resolve. Michael, I need recordings of those calls. I have them. Jeremy used the same script in every call, like reading from notes. And he made it clear he's coordinating with Amanda and Patricia. And Amanda, she spent this morning at her lawyer's office not to discuss divorce, but to prepare a petition to question your competence. They're trying to force a psych evaluation and freeze your assets during that time. The strategy was more sophisticated than I'd thought. While I focused on asset division, they were trying to erase me as a decision-maker altogether. There's more, Michael added. Patricia's mobilizing the extended family, cousins, aunts, even distant acquaintances. They're being told to call people in their networks with concerns about your behavior. A coordinated character assassination. Michael, we need to accelerate our timeline. How much evidence is ready? 3 months worth. Recordings, photos, financial documents, witnesses. Enough to prove conspiracy, defamation, and harassment. My third call was to Robert Shun. Rob, they're trying to have me declared incompetent. We received the petition an hour ago, Rob said. Risky and desperate. They have no medical evidence, just accusations of erratic behavior tied to the bank account. More importantly, we have your own evidence of systematic financial manipulation. Rob, there's something I never told you. 3 years ago, when Jeremy stayed in our basement, I installed discrete security cameras, legally, with the company's permission. Silence stretched. Sound, you're telling me you have Jeremy on video planning financial schemes? I have 3 years of recordings, Jeremy, Patricia, Amanda, and others discussing how to extract money from me, including when Jeremy calculated the best times to ask for loans based on my pay cycles. That's devastating. Why didn't you mention it sooner? Because I hoped the divorce would be civil. Now that they've chosen war, it's time to use every piece of ammunition. That afternoon, Amanda appeared at my workplace. I later learned she spent 2 hours in the lobby crying and telling anyone who would listen about my supposed breakdown and how desperate she was to help me. Security called my office. Mr. Sound, your wife has been here for 2 hours causing a scene. She claims you're in danger and need medical attention, the security officer reported. She's no longer my wife, I replied evenly, and I don't want to see her. Please ask her to leave, or call the authorities if necessary. She says she'll threaten suicide if she can't speak with you, he added. The calculated manipulation hit me like a blow. Amanda was literally trying to fabricate a psychiatric emergency, using the threat of self-harm as leverage for involuntary intervention. 20 minutes later, Michael called. Sound, she just left your office and went straight to the police. She's filing a report claiming you've made implicit threats of self-harm. Threats I never made. I know, but Patricia and Jeremy are ready to corroborate any story she invents. Driving home, it hit me how badly I'd underestimated them. I thought I was dealing with greedy, manipulative people. In truth, I was facing sociopaths willing to destroy me to protect their financial scheme. When I arrived, Brian, my boss, was waiting. Sound, we need to talk, he said gravely. I received several disturbing calls today. I spent the next 3 hours walking him through the entire situation, showing all the evidence I had collected. His expression turned steadily more serious. This is systematic harassment, he said finally. You need legal protection immediately. I'm already handling it, I assured him. Officially, the company will confirm your performance and responsibilities remain exemplary. Unofficially, if you need support or time, let me know. That night, I organized the evidence into 4 categories: financial conspiracy, coordinated harassment, defamation, and attempted psychiatric coercion. Each section contained documents, recordings, photos, and witnesses. The files spanned 4 years of meticulously documented predatory activity. At 11 p.m., a message from Jeremy appeared. Dude, this has gone too far. Amanda's desperate. You can stop this and talk like adults. Revenge? Protecting myself from systematic exploitation was not revenge. I replied, Jeremy, tomorrow my lawyer will present evidence of all crimes you've committed in recent years. If you want to negotiate, I suggest you get a criminal attorney. Seconds later, he responded. What crimes? You're delusional. I sent him a photo, Jeremy seated at Patricia's table, surrounded by my bank statements and a detailed income spreadsheet. He didn't reply. The next morning, a block number called. It was Amanda, panic clear in her voice. Please, we need to fix this. I've made mistakes, but you're destroying the family. Amanda, you used me as a financial resource for years. Yesterday, you tried to have me forcibly committed to control my money. There's nothing to discuss. I can explain everything. You can explain it under oath, in court. I hung up and turned off my phone. In the bathroom mirror, I studied my reflection. This man was no longer the one who signed checks blindly, thinking he was helping family. This was someone who finally understood the difference between generosity and exploitation. Someone who had learned that methodical action, not emotion, was the most effective response. Tomorrow, the truth would come out. And I wasn't just defending myself. I was counterattacking with 7 years of accumulated evidence. Thursday morning, 9 a.m., Robert Chin entered the courtroom carrying 3 briefcases of evidence. Amanda, Jeremy, Patricia, and their lawyer were across from us, confident their strategy of painting me as unstable would succeed. They had no idea Michael Torres had spent the previous night compiling a dossier that would alter everything. Your Honor, Robert began, voice echoing. My client not only refutes all accusations of mental instability, but also presents proof of a coordinated criminal conspiracy, harassment, defamation, and attempted forced psychiatric intervention. Amanda leaned over to whisper to her lawyer, who was too busy reading the documents to respond. His face paled with each page. First piece of evidence, Robert continued, activating the audio system, a recording of Jeremy coordinating attacks on my professional reputation. Jeremy's voice rang out. Call 2 clients of Sun's company. Tell them he's unstable and making dangerous decisions. Amanda says if we affect his work, he'll yield faster. Jeremy paled, hands trembling as he avoided the judge's gaze. Second, Robert said, photographs of family meetings where financial manipulation was planned. Images filled the screen, Patricia, Amanda, Jeremy, and others around a table covered with my bank statements, calculators, and detailed notes. Amanda rose abruptly. Your Honor, those photos were taken without consent. They were taken in my client's residence, by legally installed security cameras, Robert replied. A location where the defendants plotted financial exploitation. Third, Robert continued. A sworn statement from Jennifer Martinez detailing 3 years of family meetings about extracting money from my client. Jennifer stepped forward, folder in hand. For 3 years, I attended meetings where Amanda, Patricia, and Jeremy planned when and how to request money from Son. They had spreadsheets of his income and timed their requests around bonuses. Robert asked, and regarding the divorce plan? Amanda had been planning it for at least 8 months, Jennifer said. She referred to taking half of Son's assets as a harvest. The courtroom went silent. Patricia wept quietly. Jeremy stared at the floor. Fourth, Robert said. Text messages between Amanda and Patricia discussing emergency guardianship during a psychiatric commitment. Messages appeared. Amanda, Mark said if we get him committed, I can apply for guardianship. Patricia, but what if he resists? Amanda, Jeremy is sabotaging his work. Pressure will provoke a public emotional reaction. Fifth, Robert added, proof the family's supposed financial emergency was fabricated. He handed documents to the judge. Patricia had $83,000 in savings. Jeremy received a $40,000 inheritance 2 years ago, undisclosed when asking my client for money. They exploited generosity for years. Amanda's lawyer slowly stood. Your Honor, my client withdraws all mental instability allegations. Too late, Robert replied. My client will file criminal complaints for defamation, harassment, conspiracy, and attempted fraudulent medical intervention. Amanda looked at me for the first time. I saw the moment she realized the magnitude of her loss. Not just the divorce or assets, but her freedom. The judge asked, Mr. Son, would you like to make a statement? I stood. For 7 years, I believed I was helping a family I loved. I discovered I was being systematically exploited. I hope justice is served. During recess, Amanda whispered urgently to Jeremy and Patricia, but they now eyed each other suspiciously, realizing critical information had been hidden. The conspiracy crumbled as it was built, on lies, manipulation, and self-interest. 6 months later, Jennifer called. Son, you need to know what happened. Amanda had lost the criminal case and faced charges for attempted forced commitment. Her criminal record made employment nearly impossible, leaving her in a one-room apartment. Jeremy was fired for his defamatory calls. His $40,000 inheritance was confiscated as part of the court-ordered compensation. Patricia had to sell her house to pay fines and legal fees. At 68, she moved into a low-income apartment, finally cutting ties with Amanda and Jeremy, realizing she too had been manipulated. I received $137,000 in damages, fully restoring my reputation. Former colleagues and clients apologized for doubting me. Using part of the money, I started a consulting firm, leveraging the very skills my family tried to destroy me for: meticulous documentation, problem-solving, and strategic planning. 3 weeks ago, I ran into Amanda in a supermarket. Our eyes met. No anger, no resentment, just something new: respect. We nodded silently and went our separate ways. The greatest lesson: kindness is not weakness. For 7 years, I confused generosity with naivety. Protecting oneself is responsibility, not selfishness. Today, I help others navigate family and financial manipulation, showing that careful documentation and strategic patience outweigh emotional reactions. Justice may be slow, but it is complete when it arrives. The last I heard, Amanda was working a low-paying sales job. Me? I just signed a lease for my third office.